Hello and welcome to our channel. We are new, so please like and subscribe to help us grow and tell your tales and stories. Ethan had hiked sections of the Appalachian Mountains for years. He loved the quiet, the way the forests swallowed the sounds of the modern world and replaced them with wind through hemlocks and the distant calls of birds. On a cool October afternoon, he was making his way along a little-used trail in a remote stretch of the mountains, planning to reach his car before sunset. The trail wound through dense hardwood forest, the fallen leaves turning the ground into a carpet of gold and rust. He hadn't seen another person all day. Then, around a bend, he spotted two men standing beside the path. "Afternoon," one called with a friendly smile. They looked like hikers, backpacks, boots, worn flannel jackets. Ethan nodded and exchanged greetings. "You're heading north?" the other asked. "Back toward the trailhead." The first man pointed off to the side. "There's an overlook about 10 minutes that way. Most people miss it. Best view in the whole valley." Ethan hesitated. He hadn't seen any sign for an overlook. "It's unofficial," the man explained. "Old Hunter's Path. Worth it." The suggestion seemed harmless. The men looked normal enough, and they spoke confidently about landmarks in the area. Ethan thanked them and followed the faint side path they indicated. At first everything seemed fine. The trail narrowed, becoming little more than a footpath winding between rhododendron thickets. The forest grew denser. After 10 minutes, Ethan expected to see the overlook. Instead, the path continued. He checked his watch. 15 minutes. 20. No overlook. He stopped and looked around. The woods seemed different now. The side path had faded into scattered footprints and broken branches. Then he heard voices behind him. The two men. They were coming along the same route. A knot formed in Ethan's stomach. "Hey," one of them called. Their voices sounded cheerful, but something felt wrong. Ethan waited. When they reached him, both were breathing hard, as though they'd been moving quickly. "Not much farther," one said. Ethan forced a smile. "You know," the other added, "there's actually an old cabin out here. Pretty interesting place." Neither man seemed interested in continuing past him. Instead, they stood there, watching. The forest suddenly felt very quiet. Ethan realized he hadn't seen a trail marker in nearly half an hour. No signs. No blazes on trees. No indication he was anywhere near the maintained trail. His pulse quickened. "I think I'll head back," he said. For a moment neither man replied. Then one smiled. "You came all this way?" The smile never reached his eyes. Every instinct Ethan possessed began screaming at him. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. He took a step backward. The men exchanged a glance. That was enough. Ethan turned and started walking back the way he'd come. Not running yet. Walking. Trying not to panic. Behind him, he heard movement. The men were following. Not speaking. Just following. His heart hammered. He increased his pace. The footsteps behind him increased too. Leaves crunched. Branches snapped. Now he was almost jogging. The footsteps remained. Close. Too close. He glanced back. The men were perhaps 50 yards behind. Neither was smiling anymore. That was the moment fear became certainty. Ethan broke into a full sprint. The forest exploded around him. He crashed through leaves and low branches, barely caring where he stepped. Twigs whipped across his face. His backpack bounced violently against his shoulders. Behind him came shouting. Then running. They were chasing him. Adrenaline surged through his body. The faint path disappeared completely, but Ethan kept moving in the direction he believed the main trail lay. He remembered a creek crossing he'd passed earlier and angled downhill, praying his sense of direction was correct. The woods blurred. His lungs burned. Several times he nearly fell. Once he looked back and saw one of the men weaving through the trees perhaps 30 yards away. Still coming. Still gaining. Panic threatened to overwhelm him. Then he heard something. A distant sound. Voices. Faint but unmistakable. Other hikers. Ethan changed direction toward them. The terrain steepened. He slid down a bank, splashed through a shallow stream, and scrambled up the other side. The voices grew louder. Suddenly the forest opened. A wide, maintained trail appeared before him. White trailblazes marked nearby trees. Relief hit him like a wave. The Appalachian Trail. He'd found it. A small group of hikers stood several hundred feet away. Ethan sprinted toward them. The moment he reached the open trail, he glanced behind him. The two men had stopped at the edge of the woods. Watching. One stood partially hidden behind a tree. Neither came farther. For several long seconds they simply stared. Then they turned and disappeared into the forest. Ethan didn't stop moving. He hurried along the trail, staying near other hikers and explaining that he'd gotten lost off a side path. He didn't mention the full story until later. The trailhead finally came into view just as dusk settled over the mountains. His car sat alone in the parking area. Never had it looked so beautiful. He unlocked the door, climbed inside, and immediately locked it again. Only then did he allow himself to breathe. As he started the engine, he looked toward the darkening tree line. The forest appeared peaceful. Silent. Empty. But somewhere beyond those shadows, two strangers knew exactly where they had tried to lead him. Ethan pulled out of the parking lot and drove away, leaving the mountains behind as darkness swallowed the trail. For a long time afterward, he would wonder what might have happened if he hadn't listened to that feeling in the pit of his stomach, and kept walking deeper into the woods. What do you think would have become of Ethan? Let us know in the comments.